The dead have never truly gone. Every culture, every age has believed that when breath leaves the body, something remains. A shadow, a spark, a whisper that continues on. But where that whisper goes depends on the world that waits beneath. Some called it paradise, others punishment. Most called it the underworld. The Greeks spoke first and often. Their underworld was not fire, it was silence. They called it Hades, named for the god who ruled it. It was not evil, nor was it kind. It was simply inevitable. Beneath the earth, beyond the mortal world, the dead crossed the river Styx, their eyes closed, their mouths filled with coins. The ferryman, Charon, waited in his skiff, and for a price, he would row them across the black water. Those who had no coin wandered the banks forever, their voices swallowed by the wind. Beyond the river, the underworld divided itself, not into heaven or hell, but into memory and forgetting. The fields of asphodel were grey, endless, and filled with souls who had lived neither wickedly nor well. The virtuous few, heroes, poets, and kings, were sent to the Elysian fields, a land of golden light and music where time meant nothing. And beneath it all, far deeper, lay Tartarus, a prison for monsters, titans, and the truly damned. Here, the gods sent their enemies to suffer eternally. Sisyphus rolled his stone. Tantalus reached forever for water that fled his grasp. Ixion spun on his flaming wheel. Yet even in this darkness, Hades was not cruel. He was balance. He kept what the world gave him and returned nothing. The Greeks did not fear him. They feared being forgotten, for to be remembered was to live again, and to vanish from memory was to die twice. The Egyptians saw the afterlife differently, not beneath the world, but beyond it. They called it the Duat, a realm of passage. It was not a place of punishment alone, but of testing, a long journey toward rebirth. When a soul died, it traveled west, the direction of the setting sun. There, it entered the gates of the Duat, guarded by serpents, fire, and spirits older than time. The soul's heart was weighed by Osiris, lord of the dead, against the feather of Maat, goddess of truth. If the heart was heavy with sin, it was fed to Ammit, the devourer, part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus. If the heart was pure, the soul was guided through rivers of flame and fields of reeds toward eternal life in the kingdom of Osiris. The Duat was not only a destination, it was a map of the human soul. Each gate was a trial, each challenge a mirror. The sun god Ra passed through it every night, battling the serpent Apophis to rise again in the east. To the Egyptians, the underworld was not the end. It was the proof that even death could be conquered if one's heart was light enough. That was why they built tombs, filled with food, art, and prayers, not to mourn the dead, but to equip them for the road ahead. The pyramid was not a grave, it was a doorway. To the far north, in the land of snow and shadow, the Norse spoke of Helheim, the cold realm of those who died without glory. It was ruled by Hel, daughter of Loki, half beautiful, half decayed. Her kingdom lay beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree, where frost never melted and light never reached. Those who died in battle went to Valhalla, drinking and feasting until the world's end. But the sick, the old, the forgotten, they went to Helheim. It was not a place of torment, but of stillness. A grey land where souls wandered through fog, watched by hell's cold eyes. Yet even here there was no cruelty, only inevitability. Hell herself was neither wicked nor kind. She was fairness made flesh. She did not choose who came to her, only kept them as long as the world above remembered their names. The dead could not return, but sometimes the living could visit. Odin himself rode there to question a dead prophetess. Balder, the god of light, was taken there after his death, and the gods wept to see him trapped beyond release. They begged Hel to free him, but she refused, unless all things, living and dead, wept for him. When one refused, Hel kept him. That was her law. The North understood this truth better than most. Not every underworld burns, some freeze, and in their silence, there is justice. Farther east, beyond mountains and myth, the Hindus spoke of Naraka, a vast underworld of flame, ice, and rebirth. Unlike Hades or Helheim, Naraka was not eternal. It was a place of purification, where the soul paid its debts before returning to life. There were many hells, not one, each tailored to the sin committed. Those who lied sank into a pit of tongues torn by iron. Those who killed suffered beneath rivers of blood and ash. Those who disrespected parents were reborn as beasts of burden. Yet even the damned were not lost forever. Yama, the god of death, was their judge. He did not punish in hatred, but in balance. When a soul had learned, it was released, reborn in another form, its suffering wiped clean. Naraka was both torment and mercy, a reminder that all things, even guilt, must end. Its punishments were precise, but temporary. In the cycle of samsara, the wheel of life and death, even hell was just another stop on the way to enlightenment. In the East, the underworld was not the enemy, it was the teacher. And then came one that did not judge, nor forgive, nor release. The Mictlan of the Aztecs was neither heaven nor hell, it was endurance. To reach it, the soul had to travel for 4 years through 9 levels of trial. There were rivers of blood, mountains that crushed inward, obsidian winds that cut through bone. Ghost jaguars hunted the travelers, and each level stripped away something of what they had been: flesh, memory, pride, voice. At the end of the journey, they stood before Mictlantecutli, the skeletal lord of the underworld, and his wife, Mictecacihuatl, lady of the dead. They did not punish, they simply received. To reach Mictlan was not a failure, it was a completion. All souls, save those who died in war or childbirth, eventually went there, even the righteous. The Aztecs saw death as a continuation of the sun's path. As the day ended above, it began again below. Their offerings of food and flowers were not to appease the dead, but to aid them on their long, perilous road. They believed the dead could visit once each year when the worlds touched, a time now called the Day of the Dead. Mictlan was not punishment, it was patience, a kingdom of bones that never forgot the living, waiting for the day they would all be one again. Beneath the oldest rivers of Mesopotamia, older than gods and kings, there was a land without return. They called it Irkalla, the Great Below. It was ruled by Ereshkigal, sister of Inanna, Queen of Heaven. While Inanna ruled the sky and love and fertility, Ereshkigal reigned in silence. Her kingdom was not of torment, nor of peace. It was dust. All who entered became shadows, their names stripped away, their bodies turned to clay. Even kings were equal there, the proud, the wicked, the divine. When Inanna once descended to visit her sister, she was forced to remove a piece of her glory at each of the 7 gates: her crown, her jewels, her clothes, her voice. By the time she reached the bottom, she was naked before death. Ereshkigal struck her down and hung her like meat on a hook. Only through trickery and sacrifice did Inanna return. That was the lesson of Irkalla. None leave unchanged. The Mesopotamians believed that the dead lived on in that gray eternity, drinking dirty water, eating dust. No punishment, no reward, only the endless reminder that death was a kingdom with no kings. They buried their dead with small offerings: food, trinkets, water, tokens against that hopeless hunger. Irkalla was not cruel. It was the absence of light, the echo of life itself. And in its stillness, the first idea of the underworld was born. Far to the east, across mountains and dynasties, the Chinese spoke of Diyu, the earth prison. It was a labyrinth of judgment, governed by 10 kings of hell, each ruling over their own courts. The dead did not go to Diyu forever. They went there to atone. When a soul died, the guardians of the afterlife weighed its deeds. Those who had lived righteously moved on quickly to reincarnation, those who had not faced the 10 courts. In each court, the soul was confronted with the suffering it had caused in life, a mirror of consequence. The liars had their tongues torn out. The cruel walked on mountains of knives. The greedy were forced to drink molten gold. But when their sentence ended, they were cleansed. They drank from the river of oblivion and were reborn into the world above. To the Chinese, Diyu was both punishment and mercy, a cosmic balance. No soul was lost forever, but none escaped untested. The Buddhist monks spoke of it as karmic purification, the Taoists as necessary restoration. It was a bureaucracy of morality, perfectly ordered, terrifying in its fairness. Even death, they said, had paperwork. Diyu was the justice that lived beneath the living, a mirror for the world above. where every act, good or cruel, was eventually remembered. Across the sea, in the islands of Japan, there was another realm of shadows, Yomi, the land of the dead. It was not a fiery hell nor a pit of punishment, but a place of decay. When the goddess Izanami, mother of the islands, died giving birth, her husband Izanagi followed her down into Yomi to bring her back. But when he found her, she was no longer divine. Her body had rotted, and worms crawled where beauty had been. When he fled in horror, she screamed after him, swearing that she would claim 1,000 lives each day for his betrayal. He answered that he would create 1,500 more to replace them. Thus, death and life became eternal opposites, the rhythm of existence itself. Yomi was described as a place of darkness and filth, where the dead wandered aimlessly, unable to return. It was not moral, it was natural. The Japanese saw it as the inevitable shadow of life, the cost of creation. Even the gods could not escape it. It was believed that the entrance to Yomi still lies beneath Mount Hiba, sealed with a massive boulder by Izanagi himself. The wind that escapes those caverns carries a smell said to be unlike any other. Not rot, not smoke, but something ancient, something final. The Celts of old Wales spoke not of a pit or prison, but of a realm hidden beneath the mists, Underworld, the otherworld. It was neither punishment nor paradise, but something between dream and eternity. Annan was a land of beauty, rolling green hills, golden fortresses, rivers that shone like moonlight. Its ruler was Aron, the Lord of Shadows, a figure not of evil, but of honor. The souls who entered his realm were not condemned, they were tested. The poets said that those who died might feast in Anwan, hunt with spectral hounds, and live forever in its timeless fields, unless they longed too deeply for the world they had left. Then the gates closed behind them, and they became wraiths, wandering between worlds. The bards told of heroes like Pwyll, who journeyed to Anwan and traded places with Aron for a year, ruling wisely in his stead and returning with knowledge no mortal should hold. Anwan was not beneath the earth but beside it, a world that brushed against ours when the veil grew thin. On Samhain, when the living and dead could cross paths, its gates opened quietly in the fog. The Celts did not fear the otherworld. To them, death was only another adventure, and Underworld was the resting place of courage. Across the ocean, in the heart of Africa, the Yoruba people spoke of Guinea, the realm of the ancestors. It was not a place of torment, but of connection, a mirror of the world above, invisible but near. They believed that when a person died, their soul traveled across the great water to Guinea, guided by the Loa, spirits who bridged the living and the divine. There, the dead became guardians, watching over their families, whispering through dreams and rituals. Guinea was both beneath the earth and within the blood. It was the homeland of all spirits, the eternal village. To the living, it was sacred, a place that could be reached through ceremony, rhythm, and possession. During Vodun rites, drums would echo the heartbeat of the world, and the Loa would descend, carrying the voices of Guinea back to the surface. Death was not separation, it was communion. To the Yoruba and the Haitians who inherited their faith, the underworld was not a punishment to be feared, but a home to be honored. The cemeteries were doors, and the ancestors were alive in every breath. Even now, in Haiti, they pour rum into the earth and call the names of the dead. They do not ask for miracles. They say, "You walked before us, so we could walk now." That was the promise of Guinea, that the dead are never gone. They simply moved to where the drumbeats never stop. And last came the one that reshaped the world's idea of eternity, the Christian hell, born from many older fires. In the beginning, it was Sheol, the Hebrew realm of shadow, neither heaven nor torment, a silent place where all souls slept. But as faith evolved, it became a furnace of consequence. Hell, Gehenna, the pit, a place where the wicked were consumed by the flames of their own choices. It was not ruled by a god of death, but by absence, the separation from God himself. In medieval visions, hell was a kingdom of 7 circles, each reflecting the sins of life: pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. Dante's poem made it real. a landscape of souls frozen in ice, burned by storms, devoured by beasts of their own making. But even here, beneath the fire and sorrow, there was design. Hell was not chaos. It was order, divine justice, mirrored in terror. The fires did not burn merely for cruelty, they burned for remembrance, for the idea that the soul could not unmake what it had done. Yet for all its horror, hell was also a warning, not the promise of suffering, but the reminder that choice matters. Every action carries a shadow, and the shadow follows into eternity. The theologians argued for centuries whether the flames were real, whether the pain was literal or spiritual. But those who believed did not need proof. The fear was enough, and in that fear they found morality, structure, faith. Hell, like all underworlds, was a reflection of conscience, of justice, of the human need to explain why the world could be both cruel and kind. Each culture built its underworld from what it feared most and what it hoped for most. The Mesopotamians feared oblivion. The Chinese sought balance. The Japanese mourned inevitability. The Celts longed for reunion. The Africans celebrated ancestry. The Christians warned of accountability. Different tongues, same truth. Death is not an end, but a mirror, and when we stare long enough into it, it begins to look back.